Okay, today I'm just going to talk some animation concepts before I even get into some programming or anything in any other way of either on a web programming or Xcode programming. I just need you to start thinking about animation and how animation works, and so that you can make your own animation. So this video will be basic concepts of animation, and we'll do the test of the animation in Photoshop before we export out each frame for programming in Xcode or JavaScript or whatever programming, Flash, anything you can do. So it's basic concepts of programming, of course, is how do I prepare my artwork, and then basically what you're doing is cycling through um, still images and to see the animation take place. And so let me pause for just a second and see okay, let's just look at a video for a sample. For example, in this case I have a video open inside of QuickTime, and as you look at a video, you watch videos on your computer all the time. Basically all the videos are is a series of still images or pictures. You all take pictures with your camera now or with your phone now, and you take a picture. Well, a video on the computer is the exact same thing. If you look at it, each frame, as I scrub through, we call this scrubbing, and when we go one frame at a time, if you look down here, you can see the numbers changing in the lower left corner here. It's just a picture changing, and the video is just a bunch of pictures changing, and that's what makes it look like a video, because it's playing what it's supposed to be playing.
Try to provide a
there you
sense
go.
of
So you can
open
see it
house
playing,
event.
but it's basically picture, one after the other. So how do I do that? Well, you can do the same exact thing using a program like Photoshop. If we look at Photoshop right now, I basically have a plain image in Photoshop. I just go under File, New in Photoshop, and this one's just 500 by 100 size. And so all I did was go File, New in Photoshop, and say type in 500 pixels by 100 pixels, and I gave it a background color, and there it is. And so you see it, and then I zoomed in a little bit. Command plus zooms in, Command minus zooms out, whatever you want to do. So what I want to have is, of course, I thought about my animation first, so I'm planning a little bit. Basically, I'm going to have we're going to do a little stereo kind of animation where there's a speaker on one side over here, and then a speaker on the other side over here, and then little sound waves are going to come out, kind of animating, that there's sound coming out of a speaker. And so they're just little waves of lines will be coming out of each speaker. But of course we have a left speaker and a right speaker. So I'm going to draw a speaker right inside of Photoshop, and all I'm going to do is use the line tool. There's a line tool right here. If you don't see it, it's underneath the toolbar. These are basic shapes that you can make inside of Photoshop to make a speaker. I'm just going to use the line tool. And think of when you were a kid and you would just draw with lines. Of course you can. And I'm just going to make it 3D looking with a little perspective here. I'm going to make a speaker. Look at this. All I'm doing is drawing lines. Just drawing lines. Drawing lines. Drawing lines. And it's not going to be perfect because I'm doing this very quickly. But you can take some time. Little 3D looking speaker box that I made just with drawing lines. Okay, so there it is. There's my speaker box. And then, of course, speakers usually have a woofer inside there. Woofer is kind of the round part you see in your speaker. So I'm going to use the ellipse tool that we have right here. There's an ellipse tool right there. And I'm going to draw kind of a ellipse that goes out the front here. And let me move it around. There's a move tool at the very top tool inside of Photoshop. Allows you to scale and move things. This is kind of... and then, of course, when you're done moving or using the move tool, you always click on it, and it's going to ask you to apply. You can say apply, and then I can move it around. Okay, so I have basic speaker. It's pretty ugly, but I did it very quickly. So I'm going to select all these shapes, and when I'm working in Photoshop, I always work with the layer window, and you can see there's a bunch of layers here. And each line was a different layer, and of course the ellipse was its own layer. You can see the lines here, over here in the layer window. So I'm going to make another speaker on this side. How am I going to make the other speaker on this side is I'm just going to select all the layers that I have done, and I'm going to duplicate it using the Move tool. So select all the layers that I have, and I'm going to duplicate it using the Move tool and holding down the Option key. Again, Move tool, Option key. I'm going to click and drag, and I just duplicated everything, but of course the speaker's facing the wrong way, so I can actually just drag the edge and flip it around. Yeah, that's just a cheap and easy way to flip it around. Is again, I'm using the Move tool. I grab the edge. Look, you can flip it around. Move tool, grab the edge, flip it around. So I just flipped it around, and of course I'm going to apply it and then move it over to this corner over here. Okay, so now I have two wonderful speakers that I can then start building my animation. Now of course the animation I'm going to build takes place actually in the layers window, so I need to organize my layers. Right now I have a background layer. It's blue and it's kind of linked. You can see a little link option here. And so I'm going to take all the artwork I've already created inside of Photoshop and put it into one layer. So here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to select all the layers that have all the stuff in it if I can. Again, I'll select the first one, hold the Shift key down, select the last one. I select all the layers that I have, and I'm going to put them in a group. In the layer window, you have a group option in the upper corner here, and I'm going to say New Group from Layers, and this is my speakers. So I'm going to give it a name, Speakers with an S, and hit OK. Okay, so I have everything in one layer. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start my animation. When I animate inside of Photoshop, what I usually do is I make all the artwork first, then I animate. So what I mean by that is all the lines, these are going to have little like kind of speaker lines. Maybe I'll just use the Ellipse tool. I'm thinking about this, and let me see if I, oops, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to undo that. I want to have no fill. So I'm not going to have a fill, which means there's no color inside my ellipse, but I'm going to have a stroke, which is the line that goes around the outside, like when I was making the line with there. So I'm going to turn off this fill by clicking on fill and saying no fill, and turning on the stroke and give myself, how about we give it some color instead of it's an ugly, kind of this ugly black. Let's make lines that come flying out, and let's make them a little bigger. Right now it says 3 points. I'm going to go up to about 6 points. There we go. And so they're going to have, oops, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to have option, click and drag. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do what? What do I want to do? I want to make a circle come out of here. So I guess let me start here. There's one circle. And then I'm going to want to have another circle. I'm just thinking here of how I'm going to do that. Let me move that up a little bit. And then I'm going to have, let's do another circle. I'm going to draw another circle. Draw another circle. And then I'm going to draw one more. There we go. Now, of course, they're not all going to be on the screen at the same time. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to have, this one will be first, then this one, and then this one, and then this one. And it'll start again at the beginning. This one, this one, this one, this one. And then it'll go the other way too. So that's how I'm going to do the animation. So again, thinking about how you might animate before you animate. So that was a good idea. So I made some ellipses just using the ellipse tool, which is the circle one here. And you'll see I have different layers for them all, but of course I need to have them on the other side too, so I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before. I'm going to select all the ellipses themselves, and then I will duplicate them, holding down, again, using the Move tool and the Option key on the keyboard, and I'm going to click on them, and then of course you remember when we kind of flipped them around. How did we flip them around? Well, let me zoom a little bigger here so we can grab the edge here. Zoom out a little bit here. Let me make this a little bigger. And hopefully I can get to the edge here. Move this around. I don't need type. I don't need paragraph tool. And, geez, I can't get to the edge. Let me see. There we go. I can see the edge now. I'm going to grab the edge and move it around the other side. There we go. And then let's move this over top of the speaker. There we go. So I'm going to have an animation now, and let's see how this is going to look. Again, let's hit the move tool to apply my effect that I just applied. There we go. Okay, again, so here's how we're gonna do. So turn these off. Okay, so the first one's gonna be like that. Then it'll go like that. Oops, gotta turn this one off. And then it'll go like this. And then it'll go like this. And then it'll start over again down here like this. So that's it. You know, you can see how the animation is going to work. I'm going to turn these eyeballs on and off, on and off. So you know, basically what I would need to do now is export out each one of these pictures to bring into some kind of programming language and cycle through each of the graphics like you saw when we were looking at the video. Remember the video that we saw at the very beginning of the person talking? You know, it's just a picture, 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 picture. So I gotta make these pictures. If you want to see what they're gonna look like and test it inside of Photoshop before you even bring it into, let's say, Xcode, or bring it into JavaScript to animate this on a website or wherever you want to do, we can test it inside by using the timeline or the animation palette inside of Photoshop. There's an animation option. It's called the timeline. So if we bring up the timeline in Photoshop, it's going to bring up this pop-up window, and this is called the timeline. And what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is click on Create Frame Animation. So I'm going to click on that, and what it does is it gives me one frame. So you can see this little, and I can't make this any bigger. I don't think I can make this any bigger so you can see it. It's basically, you'll see something called a frame. So how it works is that you turn the eyeballs off of what you don't want. So my first frame of my animation, again, it says number 1 right here. My first frame of my animation has no ellipses on it at all. To make a second frame for the animation, I'm going to hit this, like next to the trash can, there's like a little page peel looking thing. It's a little triangle or a little rectangle. If I click on that, it makes me another frame. In this second frame, of course, I'm going to turn on my ellipses that look like that. Then I'm going to make another frame, number 3, and I'm going to turn off these ones and turn on the next ones, like that. Then I'm going to hit another frame, and I'm going to turn these ones off, and then turn the next ones on, the bigger ones. And I'm going to make another frame, and then turn these ones off, and turn the last ones on. And that's it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different frames. If I want to see what it's going to look like inside of Photoshop, there is a delay. You'll see how it says 0 seconds, 0 seconds here. If I select all the frames by using the Shift key and selecting all the frames down here, I can actually give it some kind of timing. And if I select them all down here, see how it says 0 seconds? There's like a little arrow that points down next to the 0 seconds there. If I click and hold that down, I can say maybe 0.2. So if you don't give it some timing here, it's going to go super fast and you barely see the lines. So I'm going to go to like a 0.2, and then if I want to see the animation, it works like a little VCR, and I know some of you probably don't even know what a VCR, but it's like a play thing down here. And it also says once right here. If you want it to loop so it keeps going around and around, you can change where it says once to forever, and that'll loop your animation. And if I hit the play button first, you'll see what it looks like. And let me deselect any of the frames that I have so you don't see that line going. Let me stop this for a moment. Let me deselect any frames. There we go. Done. There we go. So you'll see the animation going. It's kind of cheesy. I just quickly came up with this. But this is my animation sound sort of animation. So think about making something like this. You can make it right inside of Photoshop before I even try and program in any other type of, again, I could program this in JavaScript, I can program this in Xcode, I can program this in any, Flash, I can program this in After Effects, I can program this in Premiere, I can, it's basically, this is basics of animation. Very popular. If you want to animate inside an app, this is how I would do it. This is how you animate inside of Xcode, making frames and then cycling. You can see the word cycling. This is cycling through the frames right here. So you can make a GIF animation out of this, and that's very popular. If you go under File, Save As, I can make actually, to export a GIF animation, we need to do, well, first let's save it as an image. Right now I still have this untitled, so I'm going to call this speakers. Okay, I got my speakers there. Got my speaker there. And then if I want to save it as a GIF animation, I can go under Export, and under there I can say Export As. Export As. And then under Export As, if I want to put this on a website, I could choose GIF right here for the format. And it will then allow me to save it as a, I believe, an animation. It doesn't seem to be giving me the animation option here. It's a new version of Photoshop. I'll have to think about this. I know I actually did this in this version. I just need to think about how I did it. Generate, no. Well, how I had to do it in this version of Photoshop was go save as web legacy. I don't know why they don't give you an option, but I had to use this save as web legacy. I remember last time I tried this. And then I had to go and choose GIF up here, and then, oh yeah, down here, see how it says GIF animation? Now it gives me the animation options here, and I can say save, and it'll say GIF, and I can hit save. And so now that's a GIF animation. What is a GIF animation? Well, it's the same thing. It cycles through there, and we've been using it for years for a web page. So if I come over here and I open up my my documents, if I can find it, music app. I have a music app, and if I bring up a browser and we put it into a browser, if it would give me a date modified. Oh, there's no, it's not in there. Oh, where did I put it? Oh, maybe I put it in the music app folder. No, it didn't. Okay, no, I don't know where it went. Let's try again. Say export, save for web legacy. Where was it going? It was going somewhere. Oh, it was just going on the desktop. That's where it was going. Okay. So let me see. It was just going on the desktop. 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 Oh, here it is. And so this is a GIF animation. You can see it on a web page. There it is. Hey. Okay, but of course I can't use a GIF animation inside of Xcode. This is the animation I want, but I want to cycle through that in Xcode. So what I have to do for Xcode is what I would need to do is save each one of these frames out as a PNG or JPEG. I'm going to use PNG because that seems to be very popular these days. So if I go underneath File, Export, I can say Quick Export as PNG. And if I say, I'm just going to call this speaker 001. And when you're doing animation, lots of times you put 001, 002, 003, 004, and name it kind of consecutively so you understand how the sequence will go. So that was number 1, and I'm going to make sure it looks like that. Yep, that's what it looks like, number 1. So then I'm going to go back and click on number 2, which has of course, these ones in it. I'm going to go File, Export, Quick Export as PNG, and of course we're not going to do 001, we're going to do 002, and hit Save. And then I'm going to click on 3, and I'm going to File, Export, Export as PNG, and let's put in 003. Was that number 3? Yeah, that was number 3. And then click on number 4, go under File, Export, Export as PNG, and then put in 004, and then I'm going to click on number 5 and go under File, Export, Quick Export as PNG, and put in 005. So if you prepare all that, I will then go over next how to do the programming in Xcode. Again, what you really need is 5 or whatever frames you want that we can then use to cycle through and make an animation.